As emissions continue to increase and global temperatures continue to rise, the lives of millions of people are being threatened by climate change. Therefore, sustainability has become a big priority for many conscientious global citizens. Unfortunately, this is not the case for many of the world's biggest polluting industries who seem to be only concerned with profit. The problem then becomes, how do we find alternative sustainable practices for big industry that does not compromise their income and therefore encourages them to adopt sustainability? One such possible solution to this problem is ecological intensification within agricultural industry. Traditional intensification is just any process that increases the agricultural yield and crop yield of a product. Ecological intensification, however, focuses on the protection of the natural environment and using that natural environment and ecosystem to enhance crop yields rather than artificial practices. So this graph from the article titled Ecological Intensification, Harnessing Ecosystem Services for Food Security from the Journal of Trends in Ecology and Evolution shows how intensification practices can increase crop yield, therefore increase product and profit, and hopefully encourage agricultural industry to adopt these practices. So an example here would be to use increasing the availability of natural pollinators to increase pollination and then increase crop yield, or to use the introduction of native animals or other insects for pest regulation, and that could increase yield, or adopting a irrigation system that is conducive to the natural landscape of that ecosystem, and that could also increase yield. So this graph here shows some, it's just a further demonstration of how ecological intensification could be used and should be encouraged for farmers. The question though becomes, if there's so much evidence that shows the benefits of ecological intensification, why isn't it being adopted by farmers within the agricultural industry? So the article Policies for Ecological Intensification of Crop Production from the Journal of Trends in Ecology and Evolution suggests that it might be necessary to introduce things like policy, like incentives, government incentives to encourage more sustainable practices within farmers. And if they have financial incentives, or if they can achieve tax breaks for doing these things, that might incentivize farmers to adopt ecological intensification. Similarly, the study titled Ecological Intensification, Bridging the Gap Between Science and Practice, found that farmers really need to see the individual benefits rather than the societal benefits of ecological intensification, because societal benefits such as helping with climate change or improving the quality of the natural environment don't necessarily pose direct benefits to them. So scientific research really needs to focus on the profitability of ecological intensification in order to encourage these farmers to adopt such practices. So finally, the reason why we should really care about things like ecological intensification, even though it's not maybe as big as solar electric energy, or maybe doesn't seem to solve problems big like carbon dioxide, methane emissions, it is important because it has the capability to increase our global agricultural yield while minimizing the effects of the environmental impact that agriculture has. So as you can see here in this graph, adapted from Bamarco et al. 2013, in our current situation, we are not meeting the minimum global food needs, but the increased production and agricultural yield that ecological intensification could provide could allow us to meet those food needs while not having so much of an impact on the natural environment when we farm. So here are my sources. And I hope that this was informative and really shows you one of the many ways in which we can encourage big industry to think about sustainability.